Hey guys, and welcome back to the Zac Tapes. Today is the February 4th emission. Today we're going to be talking about The Brutalist, Nosferatu, One of Them Days, and then I wanted to talk about ghosts and like school spirits and Boy Haunts Girl, and talk about the Grammys really quick because girl, the Grammys were so much fun this year. There was a lot of heartbreak, there was a lot of things that were happening, clearly. I would love to shout out my best girlfriend, Billie Eilish, because she did put out a really good album this year, and she was kind of snubbed. I'm going to agree with people on that. I liked L'amour de ma vie, obviously. I liked Lunch, that was cool. I'm trying to think of the Birds of a Feather. That's the one she performed. They all great songs. I understand why she didn't win, but it was kind of sad, all in retrospect. It was kind of reminiscent of the Timothy Chalamet on SNL, where he's just like reacting to himself losing. That was how it felt when they panned over to Billie, when like Sabrina's up there, like she's just like, cool. That's actually so cool. Anyway, and Chaperone winning best new artist. Yes, that one was the best one of them all, obviously. Pink Pony Club, I wish she kind of did what Sabrina did with it and did like a little mashup where she did like Feminine Omenon, Good Luck Babe, and Pink Pony Club, but I understand they were going for an LA Fires night. That was very depressing. Just Trevor Noah like desperately standing there being like, please, it can be sense. That was kind of a buzzkill. I understand why they did it. I understand that they need to look sad and like stand up for LA or whatever, I guess. But it was like not the spot for it. Also, Taylor Swift announcing Best Country Album and then Beyonce winning it. That was crazy. I think I hadn't listened to the other country albums other than Post Malone's, so that's all I'm going off of. I think Beyonce's country album was better than Post Malone's, so I guess I understand why it won that. What I do not understand and what will continue to puzzle me for the foreseeable future is Beyonce winning Album of the Year. Oh my god. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? I had a kiki with my best friend texting this morning where we talked about this colossal snub of everyone else who was nominated in that category, because Beyonce's country album was not that. It was not the girl at the party that everyone's like, that is gonna be, for me at least, that's gonna be Brat. What are we talking about? That's gonna be Short and Sweet. That's gonna be Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. That is never going to be Beyonce trying something new. I don't know why Beyonce put out a country album other than she's going back to her Houston roots, but it was not the best album of the year. Like, never, ever, ever, ever. What? We were like, me and my best friend, we were talking about like that it's just like I'm learning that within this like being sentient thing with all the award shows and like what I do on this podcast is that it's never about the actual product. It is about what will cause the most headlines, what will be talked about the most. They're winning. I understand that with this with this conversation we're having right now. I understand that they're winning in that regard. It's about what will turn the most heads, what will be the biggest, what will get Blue Ivy up on the fucking stage of the Grammys. Would have taken literally anything else. Beyonce did not need this win. She has never won, in my eyes, has never won a Grammy for Best Album. And she doesn't need to. She has 35 other Grammys that she's won in the past. She doesn't need any more. Like, there are so many more artists like Sabrina and Chapel and Charlie that have been nominated for the first time this year that could have been a colossal win if they won album of the year, because obviously it's the biggest one, the one they saved for the end of the night. And for it to be Beyonce with a fucking country album is going to make me lose my mind. Okay, anyway, moving on. We're Billy's Birds of a Feather was really pretty. I liked what they did where they had like the sky behind her and then freeze framed some of it. Loved that Phineas was up there with her again because they don't do that often anymore. So that was really fun. And you could tell that they were going to be the first one because they were panning over the crowd, and you can see Billy's mom sitting like by herself, and you're like, oh, huh? But then you're like, ah, yeah. That was really good. I loved Billy's outfit. I love that she just like doesn't give a fuck. Like everyone else is like in their Sunday best, and she's just like, I'm gonna wear a rugby t-shirt. So that was really cute. What am I thinking of? Cynthia Erivo performing Fly Me to the Moon? Oh my god. I was like, as Will Smith was like talking, I was like, if she sings Fly Me to the Moon, I'm gonna scream. And then she goes, fly, and I go, ah, ah, ah. You know what I mean? That's like the kind of thing where you're like, so that is the song she's supposed to sing all the time, every single time. And also, could you say Defying Gravity for us, Cynthia, please? Like, also her and Taylor sharing a chair. I saw that this morning. I was like, oh, they're just sitting together. I didn't think that Cynthia was like not supposed to be there. That's a little crazy. What else was I gonna say? Janelle Monáe singing Michael Jackson. That was slay. Loved the moment when she got on the back of the bodyguard and the bro just had to be like, yes. And just like walk with her on his back. He looks so stone-faced. It was really, really funny. Other than that, obviously I love Sabrina's performance. It was really funny. I don't know why she was going for comedy, because she looks like she'd be so dainty and effervescent in everything she's ever done. To be like beauty school dropout stairs with a tux on was a little like I was like, they did like I was like, oh, beauty school drop. Like that was funny. And I think Trevor Noah, unfortunately, does need to be replaced. 5 years in a row, I get it, they're going for continuity, but he's losing his touch a little bit, Miss Thing. I think what we have to do is a Nikki Glazer kind of reboot where, like, Joe Coy was so bad that they brought in Nikki Glazer, and I feel like he wasn't that bad, so we could bring in, like, someone funny. Like, let's bring in someone from the industry to, like, host it. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but like, let's have like Willow Smith or something host the Grammys next year. And also, what was Jaden wearing? I looked it up and it said, I don't know, so don't like, I just looked it up. It cost like $4,300 for that little fucking weird castle house thing he was wearing on his head. Why'd he do that? He was like, oh, my sister's wearing lingerie. I gotta come up with something that will make people talk about me. And was like, I got it. I'm gonna wear a castle on my head. And I think that's all the Grammys talk I have. We will never be talking about Beyonce again until Blue Ivy becomes a Grammy winner. And yeah, Chapel! Anyways, back to the episode. Or Girl Hunts Boy, I can't remember. And just how all of these ghost shows have been popping up lately. And I'm like here for it. I'm watching Ghosts right now, the US version, because my mom and my stepdad got really into it. And it looked like fun, so now I'm watching it. But I'm noticing all of these like crop ups of all of these ghost shows. And I'm like, what is happening here? So yeah, I guess we'll start with that because I think we're having like a ghost revolution almost because I guess a lot of people are writing these scripts. They're getting approved because there's already shows like it that have been proven successful. Like the Ghosts that's in the US with Rose McIver and Urktesh Ram something. Sorry, King. Oh my god. Ghosts US. Utkarsh Ambudkar. Got him. Um, but they are exploring the world through this lens of ghosts. And I think it's really interesting because when like you're watching Ghosts, there's a couple different like time periods that they're from. So there's one who's like Alexander Hamilton era, um, U.S. General guy. I don't know if he's actually, and his name's Isaac. And you have like a Norwegian, Viking, like Scandinavian Viking guy who's been there for like 1,000 years. There's an old Victorian woman. They've got a, I forget what they call him in the, but there's a Native American guy called Sass, and like they're exploring all of these different like things through their lenses. So like the guy who's the Viking is named Thor, and he's been living almost like kind of for 1,000 years. So he's seen like this like history pretty much be and been able to like like he's been able to have all these experiences and be able to like translate them and help solve problems, and it's just so interesting because and also like they there's a guy named Trevor who has no pants on, and he's a ghost, and whenever they move on, he tricked them into thinking it's called being sucked off, and I think that's really really funny. But like I don't know, you know, don't you know? And then I was rewatching School Spirits. I'm literally still on the first episode because I got bored and read a lot yesterday. But they're coming out with the second season, so I was like, I'll rewatch this too. And they kind of do it differently in School Spirits than they do in Ghosts, where the ghosts work through it in like a group therapy session, basically. And it's really interesting because all the other ghosts know how they died, and except for one who's her name is Maddie, and we never really, I don't think it ends with us knowing if she's dead or not, because like she can talk to her friend Simon, who is still alive. We're putting that in quotes. And none of the other ghosts or the other school spirits can see Simon. Well, they can see Simon, but they can't like talk to him or anything. And it's similar to ghosts, obviously, in the sense that they are trapped and there are a bunch of them and they can't leave. So it's very similar to ghosts, and they can't go anywhere except the school, and they can't go anywhere except the mansion in Ghosts. But exploring a bunch of different plots through the lens of a ghost who has so much experience is very interesting, and the fact that like Sam can talk to all of them and Jay's just like standing there oblivious is really funny. And yeah. So let's move on to a different kind of gross thing. Let's talk about Nosferatu, because I didn't watch the original because I felt like that was like too like walking the line on it pretty much. But I really enjoyed it. I didn't really see any of it as like totally scary because I love like horror movies for their like, oh my god, say like one more time, bro. I like horror movies for their comedic factor basically. And Nosferatu had that in a lot of ways where you could like sense it, cuz you know what I mean? Horror movies will never not be funny to me because you try to plan out the scares like to plan, and but the cinematography always gives it away. Like if it's a slow moving scene and we're panning slowly and the characters looking around, like there's the one scene where um the wife of Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't know the name. I think his name is Friedrich and hers was Anna. And they're like panning to the stairwell, and then they pan back to her, and then right behind her is Ellen, who is Lily Rose Depp's character. And it's like, of course, we knew we were getting a jump scare. You can't move the camera that slowly and then expect to like not have someone be like, you know what I mean? I thought it was pretty gory, like in the sense that like it's emotionally manipulative and kind of gross and pedophilic, where like, oh, if I say like one more time, where Lily Rose Depp's character Ellen like kind of brought this all upon herself. If we're like kind of, I'm not blaming her obviously, but when she was younger, I guess she was looking for a companion. She was like, "Send me an angel, send me a thing, send me an anything." And Count Orlok was like, "I will send you me." And also, I understand why they like shrouded him physically in darkness. Like in any scene you never really get to see his full body, his full face, his full anything. They keep him very lit. Like it's clear they put a lot of thought in how they lit Count Orlok. Um I also, before I saw Nosferatu, I saw Brittany Broski talking about him. And now, whenever he talked, I just like imagined Brittany Broski going, "This episode is sponsored by," and like I couldn't, like it kind of took me out of it. It was my own fault, but like he would be like, "Your lord, call me war by bloodline counts," and he was like, Yes, my lord." And also, I forgot it was Nicholas Hoult in this, so now I was like, "Oh, it's Aaron Taylor Johnson," and then it wasn't, and then it was later on. But I I kind of really got confused about it's. So Nicholas Holt's character is like this realtor or whatever in the 1800s, and he's going to Count Orlok's house to get him to sign something to like buy this house in Germany. And so his boss ends up being like a puppet to Count Orlok. And I don't know where the connection in that began because it's very confusing when you watch it, where his boss is just like crazy and like basically Peter Pettigrewing his ass off to Count Orlok. In like the same sense of Voldemort, you know what I mean? That's why I said that. There and then he like bites the head off a pigeon, and that was really weird and not the I was just like, that's like the worst part for me is the body horror and like the grossness factor sometimes, because my first ever horror movie was The Exorcist, the first one I ever watched, and that one's pretty gory in the sense that I was like 14, maybe 13, 14. I definitely watched it in middle school, so I don't know, but in the sense that body horror, that's gonna get me every time. And that's the goal of it, right? But he never really explains why or how he got involved with Count Orlok. It's just he doesn't want to be involved anymore, question mark, because he sends Nicholas Holt's character to Count Orlok's castle or whatever. And then he signs like a blood oath or whatever saying like your body is mine instead of having Count Orlok sign the deed to the house or whatever. And so Ellen is like convening with Count Orlok in this like weird way, like puppet sort of vibe, where he can take over her mind and like talk to her and be that presence that she wished for, but like in a gross way, because she was like a young girl, we suppose, in the first part where she wishes for him. And then he's like, "So what if we fucked?" And you're like, "Huh? What was that?" And I don't know if they actually ever fuck or not, because at the end, he kind of just sucks her blood. And, like, I don't know if he was doing that at the same time, or if he was just sucking her blood. Also, I guess Count Orlok, his whole MO is sucking people dry. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. Because sorry, I'm going to say Hotel Transylvania out loud right now. I'm very sorry. But I never thought that, like, they had to eat the entire blood. You know what I mean? Like, I thought they could, like, have a pint here and there. But I guess in Nosferatu land, he has to suck them dry. Because on the boat that he gets transported in to go to Germany, he sucks the blood dry of a, like, first mate or something, someone on the boat. And they're like, he's infected with the plague, but the way the plague transferred was blood back then, or is blood now. I don't know if we still are having problems with the plague. I don't know the answer to that. But it, like, he was like, he has the plague, but he has no blood via which it could be transferred. So I get, or it's bodily fluids, I guess. But it was very confusing, I think. But I was like sad. I was there for it. I was at the movie theater for a collective. Well, how long was I at the movies? 7 to 5 hours. I was at the movies for 5 hours yesterday. I saw Nosferatu and One of Them Days with Keke Palmer. I actually kind of... Okay, I'm moving on from Nosferatu because it was kind of freaky and I don't want to think about it for too much longer. In the sense that, like, he's freaky. You know, Bill Skarsgård does a really, really good job of being fucking creepy in movies. So, there's that. Anyways, I would recommend seeing it if you like horror movies, but if you don't, then obviously don't. Okay. Before Nosferatu, I saw One of Them Days with Keke Palmer and SZA. And I really liked the concept of that movie. It's one of those movies where you have a countdown timer. It felt very Disney Channel, but in, like, the best way possible. So it's like they are two girls who are struggling with their money. They have, like, a couple jobs, or Keke Palmer's character Drew has a couple jobs, I guess, and they trying to make rent this one day, and SZA accidentally gives it to her, like, dumpster fire of a boyfriend. And he ends up buying T-shirts instead of paying the rent. And this whole movie is trying to get the rent money back, trying to make rent, all this stuff. And it's actually really cute, and I really liked it because the cinematography was so fun. Like, they were having fun with it, and that's what I admire about some, like, filmmaking, is if you're just having fun, like, that's what I loved about making films. That's what I loved about recording music videos and stuff like that, is just those collaborations and having fun with it. Because I wasn't main camera on any shoot ever. I was B-roll mode. If we were doing that kind of thing, I was B-roll, or I was running the gimbal camera. And that's my kind of stuff. I love playing around with movement in a shot. I love playing, and they had fun with that. Like, there's a couple scenes where they do that effect where if you're seeing the person, but the background looks like it's shrinking. I love that kind of shot. I really want to learn how to make that shot. I think it's you start, like, close and then you zoom and move back so it looks like you're keeping them in the same, like, you know what I mean? But it looks like they had a lot of fun making this movie. And SZA's actually a really good actor. You felt her emotions. She conveyed them properly. It looked really fun and cute. Like, I don't know. And it was also very, like, an idiotic movie in a sense, but it was like they were having so much fun with it, you just didn't really care. There's a scene where they are getting the shoes, like, in America, shoes from telephone wires to, like, signals you're in a bad area, I guess. They end up taking those down and selling them for, like, $1,500, and so they make rent. That's their rent. And then I had to go to the bathroom at a certain point, so I got a little lost. But it was really, they lose their clothes. They donate a bunch of blood. The principal from Abbott Elementary's in it too, as, like, this blood bank nurse, and it's really funny. They end up, like, popping 4 blood bags all over the, like, donation center, and that part was pretty gross. That got me a little bit. They end up having to, like, change clothes and all this stuff, and at the end this is where I got lost, because she goes, one of the characters has a job interview because she doesn't want to keep working at this diner that she works at. She wants to become this, like, franchise owner or something. And and she goes in for a job interview wearing like Coachella fit, but they like hiked up the pants so they don't look like Coachella pants. And she had a blazer on, so she looked all professional. And then that's where I had to use the bathroom, so I don't remember a lot in the middle. But at the end, they end up making the rent. They end up burning down the building. They end up like, um, and then she learns like her friend like has all these paintings and they sell all the paintings and make like 17 or $5,200 with all this stuff, and it's like slay. And then it kind of ended like a documentary where it's like Drew is doing great as a franchise owner. Alyssa is selling her paintings for $1,000+. Like it's so cute. And yeah, I would recommend seeing that as well because I just had like so much fun like going to the movies, you know? Like I love going to the movies. It's so much fun for me. I read a book this week. Yeah, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Ishiguro? I don't know. But it's about these people or these kids who are clones of other people that are bred to be organ donors organ donators, and it's told through the lens of this one student named Kathy, and she goes through her childhood growing up at this house called Hailsham, where they have all these lessons. It's like school, but they live there and they're getting like prepared to be these people who care for people who are organ donors, and then they become organ donors themselves, and so they're learning all about this stuff. And throughout the book there's like underlying tones, and I was reading like when I first got this book on my reading list, it was from I think a TikTok at the time when I still had TikTok, and he was like, "This book broke me, read it." And I was like, "Okay," added it to the list, and I finally got around to it this year. But I didn't ever really cry at this book, and like I don't cry at a lot of things, but I've learned that I'm getting to be more of a crybaby now that I'm growing, I guess. And this book tells the story of like these three kids who are these organ donors and people who care for. So they grow up and learn how to be a carer, which is someone who takes care of an organ donor, right? They're not a nurse, but they're like a chaperone guardian type thing. And then after they complete their years as a carer, they become organ donors themselves. So that's kind of the deal. And they explore like growing up in this house and how all of these dynamics were explored with all the students at the center. That there's this process where you can defer your organ donations if you really love someone. Like you can spend an extra couple years together if you can prove you're in love. And this is just for the people who grew up at their house specifically. And so eventually Kathy and this boy called Tommy, who she's known basically her entire life, go to the house of the woman who ran the house they grew up in called Hailsham, and they learn that it was never a possibility of deferring, like that's not a thing, but they were like ever hopeful. And they learn that the reason that they grew up in Hailsham was because of this Miss Emily character who believed that these organ donor kids should like grow up as children. They shouldn't just grow up in like a pigsty basically, which was how they were being raised before. And they were trying to prove that they were human via like art and poetry and all this stuff. And I guess that's what's sad about it, is that in the end, Miss Emily has a friend or lover, I don't know, called Marie Claude, who calls them like poor creatures. Like if she didn't even see them as human, and she's the one who was fighting for them to be raised in a house, raised to be people that like have souls. Like I guess it was a thing that like if the kids are seen as too human, then we're gonna start feeling bad for them and stuff like that. And in the end, Ruth or Kathy, who's this book has been written from her point of view, loses the two best friends called Ruth and Tommy to their donations. Like they call it completing, and that's when like you die basically giving your organs, and like they can harvest everything at that point, I think. And I don't know if I ever like really understood why it was so sad, but like if I think if sad is I this sounds really bad, but I think if sad is too nuanced, I don't really pick up on it, but like does that make sense? Cuz some movies I will cry at, and it'll be like because like Lost Dog's Journey Home or whatever, or A Dog's Purpose, I think it's called. I cried my fucking eyes out at that because it's about dogs. Like, but I did not understand I think the nuanced um themes in this book of how sad it was. Really, I guess it sounds really bad, but like I don't know. Right now, I started a new book today. It's called Tyler Johnson Was Here. I read the synopsis and it was on my reading list, so I'm getting through. I have like 24 books on my reading list, and that's my goal for this year is to read 24 books. So, literacy. Woo-hoo. I'm still working on getting through the Wicked book. I have to sit down with the Wicked book and listen to the audio book while I'm reading it because it's very convoluted. It's a very convoluted book because he wrote it in like the style of L. Frank Baum, I think, where he uses like bigger language words, and like I can like I'm not illiterate, but it takes a lot for like I had to reread a bunch of shit in the first couple chapters of Wicked, and I was like at this point I should just have it read to me because I need I need to think. So I've been doing that. I've been sitting over at my desk and like listening to it and watching it like read for me. So that's been helpful in like getting me through it. I'm on the Galinda chapter, so she's headed to Shiz right now. And then there's 2 hours of Bach in this book, and I'm like, good freaking lord. I that makes me think I went to a Broadway rave a couple of nights ago with my stepdad and my mom and one of their friends, and it was really fun because they played that song. They ended up playing the Broadway version, which is fine, but they ended up playing that song where it's like, "Listen, Nessa, Nessa, I've got something." That one. Or they played "Dancing Through Life." I don't think they played that part of it, but in the beginning, Nessa goes, "Me and we deserve each other, me," and everyone went me and Bach like the TikToks, and I was like, yes, yes. So that was a sleigh, and they played like a bunch. They played too much Hamilton, which was like, okay, Queen, we get it. Okay, bestie, we got that. Ugh. But it was good. They played some Evan Hansen. They played Heathers, which I was thankful for. I love Heathers. They played a bunch of Les Mis. I've never seen Les Mis, so that might be on me. I hope the movie's good because that's what I'm gonna watch. They didn't. They played the one song from Moulin Rouge, but they played like the movie version, which I thought was interesting because they didn't like play like any other of the movie versions. They played a lot of the Rent movie versions, which I thought was interesting, and it was like fun though. We went. It was downtown, or not really downtown, but me and my mom and my stepdad, we carpooled, so that was fun. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching the February 4th emission of the Zac Tapes. Go ahead, check out I have an Instagram for this show, and then go ahead and check out my ASMR channel as well if you feel like it. And I will see you guys next week. Toodles.